Abba above us, just radiating his love and in appreciation. But a beautiful, wonderful atmosphere. So I don't know what you folks were doing over the last hour, but
It was good thing.
Oh, it's a
it was
good thing.
good. Yeah.
I was going to share a quote real quick, very short one. Can I?
Yeah.
We read this with Mernoz, and I thought I wanted to share that. I forgot to do it. It says, when I was, God was not. When God is, I am no more. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Say it again.
When I was, God was not. When God is, I am no more. I go out.
Very
The yoga of you go.
Yep.
You know, something right along with that is I was reading the book Boys, with the Prem Ashram boys, the young boys, and this is later on in his life. This is what Asfandiar said. That's right along with what you said, Roxy. When you love, when one loves and has real love, one's self is dissolved. Then it is him loving himself. In other words, when the self dissolves, it's not us loving him, it's him loving himself. Or love, another way he put it, love, Asfaner would describe his inner state, it's love loving itself. It's not me loving. So eventually we'll get to that. That will be beautiful.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, but right along with what you said.
Oh.
Hey, so Nasreen, we get to see Nasreen.
Yes, finally.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Jeff.
Yeah, beautiful.
I think it calls for a song, Jeff.
A song.
So that Nazarene can dance.
Oh my God.
Let me see.
Angela, are you serious?
Well, that way I get to both
Wait
hear.
1 second. Let's see what I can do.
This way I get to hear Jeff and watch you too. It's a double.
Well, you can you can see me just my hand. You don't see the rest of my body.
That's fine. That's all we need to see.
We just we see your smiling face and dancing face.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, I've got a Nana's going to bring a song, and I think you'll like it. As Rang always says, you'll love it. You'll like it.
You love it.
Something special.
Very special.
A Tuesday night special.
Friday night special.
I don't know what you guys got. All I know is that you got it. That's enough.
Yes. Now you got the. Here's the good. Somehow you have to. I'm going to hold this microphone over
That's all right.
near here. I thought I had. Oh, here they are. Does the cable that up at all or not? Okay. This song is called American Tune. And I'm just going to come in on that.
Okay, come in as much
Now
as you
tell
want.
me if you can you hear that guitar?
Sounds great.
The only one we
Yeah.
can hear is maybe Angela. Can you hear the guitar?
Yeah, they're saying they
Yes.
can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Many's the time I've been mistaken and many times confused. Yes, I've often felt forsaken and certainly misused.
Oh, but it's all right. It's all right. You were with me all along. And when I think of your light now in my life, I just need to find a song to offer you a song.
And I don't know a soul who's not been battered, barely a friend who feels at ease. Don't know a dream had not been shattered or driven to its knees.
Oh, but it's all right. It's all right. In you I found my home. And when I think of the road I'm traveling on, I don't feel so all alone. I hear you calling me back home.
And I dreamed I was dying. I dreamed my soul rose unexpectedly and looking back down at me, smiled reassuringly. And I dreamed I was flying. And high above, my soul could clearly see the light you shine on me, that love you give to me. And I woke up smiling.
We come to you with all our troubles. We come to learn to love. We come in this age's most uncertain hours. We know the gifts we bring are rough. Ah, but it's all right. It's all right. I feel you in my bones. Now when I see you here in this world, I know you've made my heart your throne. Seems I'm on my way back home. Seems I'm on my way back home.
Wow,
Yeah.
that was fantastic.
Did you hear the words okay?
Yes,
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Very
good.
clear, very clear.
beautiful. Very
Yeah.
beautiful.
We got Jai up there, and Cameron's probably around somewhere.
Oh,
And-
did you see how quickly he hid? I was gonna.
Elowen is in there somewhere, and Sham in the Punjab.
Oh,
Ursula, I think she's from the DC area. Yeah. Well, does anybody have anything to share or anything that comes up? Cliff, you got anything? We don't know. Wait, we haven't heard how Cliff heard of Baba. Oh, yeah, we did a while ago. That's right. Cliff, you got anything that, any kind of experience that, uh-oh, he's left. No.
You asked for it, buddy. Jay Baba.
Yeah, Jay Baba.
I don't have anything prepared to discuss, but I have a question. I'm kind
Yeah.
of curious about Bill Ramsey and how he's doing, and I haven't heard or seen them at all.
Yeah. No, the person who knows that better than most is Denny Moore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him.
Yeah, call Denny.
I will.
Let's
Jeff.
see.
You guys sounded great, by the way.
Oh, well, good. It came out all right. This is this new
And
computer.
even you sounded good, too.
Hey, so I thought I'd maybe start out with a story that Balkal Shuri used to share, and even Erich. Now, I may not remember this completely or thoroughly or as in depth, but it's a very telling story. There was a seeker who was, an ascetic, very interested in seeking God, and he tried desperately for years and years and years, and then he heard that he really needed to go to a perfect master. And he was told about this perfect master who was King Janak. King Janak was one of the great rulers in those times. I guess it's in India, ancient India, Hindustan.
Yeah, he's a father of Sita.
Ah, yeah, father of Sita. And so he comes to his palace. He makes his way in there, and he sees King Janak in the midst of all this luxury and opulence and everything, and all these, all this finery and all these ministers and everything. And he thinks, how could this guy be a perfect master? I mean, he's very disappointed. King Janak does some things with him, but eventually he has him come before him. And he says, I would like you to see the city. We're having a festival, and everybody is, this is one of the famous times. You're here at the perfect time. So I'm going to have you go through the city and see all the festivities going on. But then he says, he calls for a pitcher of milk. And he says, you're going to go on this whole journey around the city. And I have these 2 guards right here on the side of you with swords. If you spill 1 drop of that milk, they are given the order to cut off your head. So he says, go and enjoy the festivities. So he goes into the city with all this dancing and festivity and everything going on, and he takes them up and down all the famous avenues and everything like that. And after many hours, they come back. And King Janak says, how was it? How were all the festivities and everything? Did you enjoy it? Did you see the way we celebrate here in this great city? And the seeker says, I didn't see a thing. My whole concentration was on not spilling a drop of milk. I didn't see anything. And King Janak says, all this wealth and lavishness is around me, but I don't depart from a moment on my focus on God. I don't see any of it the way you do. So this was a story that Bao would tell, and I think Erich also. So, and it's kind of helpful for us in our life if we can go around focused on Baba and not getting too dragged into this world, getting at least bound up in it. Adi used to say, the world is like a museum. It has all these beautiful things, but it's all under glass. You can't touch it. That was his metaphor. Anyway, does anybody have anything that to share? Let's see. Oh, we got Alan Manukian. He's usually good for something. Oh, here, I'll tell you a couple more stories that made an impression on me. There was a woman named Hedy Mertens. She was from Switzerland. And she came to Baba in the 30s and stayed there. I think she may have been in Nasik, but she was there with Baba in India for periods of time. Also, her husband came. Well, I'll tell you something about Walter Mertens. There's a place in Switzerland called Fallenfluh, and Baba wanted to go into seclusion on this. It's a mountain, and he wanted to go into seclusion on this mountain. And so they climbed up, and Baba was there, kind of in a cave-like structure. Are you folks hearing me okay? Yeah, good. And so Baba posted various of the mandali around them because this was a public hiking place. And Walter Mertens was at the lower part, about maybe 50 or 100 yards away from Baba. And so Baba began his seclusion in this place, and lo and behold, a couple of hikers come, and they're heading up the mountain, going right over where Baba is. And Walter Merton's, with his quick thinking, he said, they're conducting high voltage experiments up there. I wouldn't go up there. And that discouraged the hikers from going any further. They're conducting high voltage experiments. That was how he described Baba, you know. So he managed to head the hikers off. But here are a couple of stories. With his wife, Hetty, came to, she was in India, and at one point she was kind of worried about her children back home, especially her son. And I mean, I can't remember this exactly, but Baba said, you know, how do you know I can't see them from right here? Maybe they're having a picnic. Don't worry, they're fine. And then Baba went like this. He made a funny thing with his finger in his nose like that. She didn't really think anything about that. But a couple of weeks went by, and a letter came from Switzerland from the with the kids. And sure enough, they were at a picnic, and her son, the one that she was worried about, was there in front of the camera, and he was going like this. The very same thing that Baba indicated to her. So she realized why Baba did that. And now there's another woman, you may not have met her, but she taught as a dance instructor for the Arthur Murray Dance Studios. They're not in existence anymore, but that was, and so she lived in a four-story walk-up in New York. And whenever she would come home, her dog would kind of sidle up to her and make this real endearing like look, you know, to welcome her. And I mean, that was always touched her heart, you know. So anyway, this is either 52 or 56, she was going to meet Baba for the first time. And she was kind of anxious. What is it like? What is it going to be like to meet Baba? She was kind of worried, and anxious about that. But finally her turn came, and she went in. And when she went in, Baba had his head turned just like the way her dog would welcome her in the hallway when she came home. So she knew that Baba knew her. That just melted her heart, because she knew that Baba knew, just the way her dog would greet her every day after work. So those are a couple of little small things that Baba would do. There was another time when there was a couple, this is I think back in the 30s, and a couple was in the back seat, and they were going through London, kind of driving rapidly, and at one point Baba kind of pointed up to a second floor apartment, and they looked up, and that's where they had lived. This couple had lived when they were first married, long before they even knew of Baba. So, and Baba would just do these things very lightly, but they would mean the world to someone's heart, So, anyway, Cliff, have you thought of anything over there?
Well, I have a little of a personal story with Bao.
Yeah.
When at a Baba meeting in New York, I'm there with Bao, and I don't know how many people were there, maybe about 40 people. And Bao looked over to me, and he said, "Well, we will call you Babu." And I kind of didn't really like that name so much, but I just, kind of went along with it. And I guess Bao probably could tell after a while that I didn't really like that name, but I didn't do any research as to where the name came from or anything like that. And, years went by, and then I started studying the tabla. And so, I don't even remember if Bao remembered, I don't know if Bao remembered giving me that other name, but he would call me that a few times. Anyway, when I started studying the tabla, I asked him, I said, is it okay to be a disciple? I wanted to be a disciple of my tabla master. And so I said to him, is it okay, because we're not supposed to have another master, and is it okay to be a disciple? And so Bao said, it's okay because you're learning something. So I
Yeah.
never technically became a disciple. I didn't do a ceremony with my master, but I studied with him 17 years, and I was sort of like, he wrote that I was a disciple in a book he gave me. But anyway, so Bao started calling me Tabla, and he said, everybody, this is Tabla, not Tabla G. He just called me Tabla.
Tabla.
He told me when I studied it, he goes, it'll be very hard. And it was grueling. And I ended up studying with a famous guy in classical and stuff like. So I had no idea. I just thought it was going to be cool and easy, and it sounded good. It was very difficult. And so anyway, so years go by, and I'm reading somewhere, and maybe in like Lord Maher or somewhere, Baba goes like, get me Babu, get me Babu. And then I realize Babu in India, there's maybe Salaj, or maybe you guys have heard this, that Babu is kind of like someone that helps you, or like a reception guy who like assists people and things like that. So Babu was Bao. So
Uh-huh.
it really touched me very much.
Yeah, beautiful.
Bao called me that, and that Baba called him that.
Yeah.
So
Babu. Yeah.
it
Good.
took him.
Yeah,
So
and these things kind of unfold over time so beautifully.
it's been a while, yeah.
Oh, I wish I could think there are some stories like that, and they're not occurring to me right now, where things. Oh, I mean, this is semi-related to what you're saying. There was a up in Maine in I think it was 1973. There was a mela. They had a kind of
In
like a
Maine?
big sahavas, huh?
In Maine?
In Maine, yeah.
Yeah.
And they had, a lot of the Westerners, that we know from that time. But there were at least two guests from India, two who had met Baba. One was Pukar, and there was another woman, I don't know her name. But she got up there, and she told her story. And then she said the last time she saw Baba, which, I think was in 1965, and when she went up she bowed to Baba, but when she came before Baba, he was like, gesturing to somebody. And her turn was over, and she was pushed on. And she felt so saddened by the fact that was her last meeting with Baba, and he wasn't even looking at her. He was like gesturing to somebody. And and she's relating this at this mela. And Pukar, who's there I guess maybe on the stage, speaks up and says, I was the one he was gesturing to. He was saying to me, she's one of my very close ones. And so imagine, this is maybe 7 years later, 8 years later, she gets a final message from Baba. But all that hurt that she felt for those 8 years in a moment, was transformed into something beautiful from Baba. She's one of my close ones. Yeah. Well, Anybody have anything? Let me see. I'm gonna see if there's anybody here that. Oh, we got Mayor Prasad. We got Alan. Alan, are you eating right now? Oh, doing the dishes, he says. And Lanita's there. Hey, let me ask Jay. See if we can get him out of there. Oh, I did ask you how you came to Baba. I remember. Yeah. How did you meet Mera?
We met at Meharana, 2010.
Uh-huh.
Bao was there. I think Bao was just last year there, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Were you
Yeah,
living
he
in
had a visit to
Seattle
the
at,
hospital.
were you living at Seattle at the time?
No, I was in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Mara came down with her parents from Seattle,
Yeah.
and we were about 2 weeks there or so.
Yeah. And so yeah, so that's how you met her there, and then you came to live in Seattle. What kind of work do you do?
I'm just a stay-at-home dad now.
Oh, well, good. And so she's got a pretty good job, does she?
She's looking.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So at least, so you've got Cameron. Your one child is Cameron?
The younger one is Ryan. 5.
Oh, Ryan and Cameron. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Alan, we got to wait till he finishes his dishes. Here's another story that Erich used to tell, and I'll try to remember it as best I can. You know, Jesus said to kind of lay your burdens on me, you know, at my feet. But here's Baba's. Here's the updated version, the year 2000 version. Baba is this is how Erich describes it. Baba is at hey Priya. Baba is at a giving darshan. Maybe Mayor Prasad can remember this too. Baba's giving a darshan, and people are coming up, and they're bringing, you know, fruit and garlands and all sorts of things and laying them at Baba's feet, and they're being removed, and huge mounds are being formed on each side of Baba, and it goes on, and at one point Baba puts up his hands and says, "Stop." You know, and he says, I am the creator. I've given you all these things. Now I'm paraphrasing, but and now you're giving them back to me. But no one gives me what I want. And one woman was very shyly in the back, Erich said, "Well, Baba, what do you want?" And he says, "I am the personification of perfection. But there's one thing that I don't have, and that is your imperfections. Give your imperfections to me." So Baba is inviting us to give him our weaknesses and shortcomings and imperfections. I mean, that's enormous burden, so to speak, that he is asking, but in the long run, I'm sure it works better for him if we give him all of that. I know Erich said to me, it is a greater burden to Baba to withhold anything from him than to throw on him the worst of yourself. So if you want to keep Baba, less burdensome, give all that you can to him. And you're giving it we're giving our unreality to his reality. That's just getting dissolved. The more we give him, the more our falseness is getting dissolved. And like I read earlier, that this line from Asfandyar, again, when one has real love, oneself is dissolved, then it is him loving himself. So you would ask Asfandyar, what are you doing? He would say, I'm not loving Baba, it's love loving itself. So that's the beautiful place to get with that. Priya, you got anything happening there?
Lots of things, yeah, Baba. A couple of things I wanted to share, but before I do that,
Yeah.
help me understand, how do you let Baba be the driver of your life? Like you say, right? That Baba, I leave this to you. That you,
Yeah.
how do you do that in practice?
I mean, the Mandali would say, when you fall in love with your husband, I'm not saying you have a husband, but you don't say, well, how do you fall in love with somebody? You just, love knows how to do it. And when you want him to live your life and guide your life, love will find the way to do it. Of course, however much you give to Baba, the more you give to Baba of your good, bad, and ugly, all the little bits and pieces, the more, and when you give it to him, that all dissolves layer by layer. You make more room for him to live in you so that he can more and more take over your life. He becomes more the doer rather than you. But love knows how to do it. You'll figure it out. Just like, you figure out if you have a little puppy that comes into your house, no one has to tell you, how do you love this little puppy? You have it's all there. You don't even need a method.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And where does fear come from? Is it the product of mind or the heart? When you're
It's from my understanding is deep in the heart. Deep, even lower than the heart center is where fear is. And that is really, we all suffer from fear, but it's hard to get down to the bedrock fear. We get all sorts of layers of fear, worry, anxiety, and milder forms, but it's hard to get down to the raw fear and give that to Baba. But the more we do that, the more we can get down to the fear is not up here, it's down. I mean, it manifests up here, but it's down deep internally. And sometimes these situations in life activate the fear, and each time these outer situations activate the fear, you get a chance to go there and give a little bit of that core fear to Baba. But fear is deep within us, but it's a challenge, and it can be engaging to give a little bit of it each time. Anytime you are frightened of something or scared or worried about something, it gives you one more chance, another chance to give that to Baba and become aware of it. I don't mean just say, Baba, I give you my fear. No, you feel it and everything. What I do, I feel it deeply, and then I imagine that it's energetically flowing to Baba out in front of me. So can you imagine, I once spent 4 months giving Baba the anxiety in me. Now, that's anxiety. I would say anxiety is not as core as fear. I spent 4 months giving it to Baba in and behind my workday and everything. And I can't say I got rid of anxiety, but I learned it becomes a companion. It becomes less of a frightful person in the room, so to speak. You get to be a little more friends with it. You and Baba get to be friends with it. So it's a great opportunity. All these situations in life bring out these core emotions, and if you take it, as the Mandali do, you can give those things to Baba You get a very positive thing to do with them rather than just suffer them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They're not bad. I mean, Baba and life does bring out our own thing, but also we can be proactive. In other words, you could go into you're not experiencing any fear right now, but you could go into it, feel it as deeply as you can, and give a little bit of that to Baba right now. You know, you can be proactive instead of waiting until life brings it up.
Beautiful.
I mean, I give this example. Say, suppose you have jealousy in you, but you don't do anything about it. You just kind of leave it there, and then, and so you're not actively giving it to Baba, trying to kind of get in touch with it and give it to Baba. So what happens? Life gets you to fall in love with somebody. So you fall in love with somebody and you have this great relationship, and suddenly he falls in love with somebody else. And bam, now you got jealousy. Now you got to deal with it. You know what I mean? But I say, now this is just my opinion, go after some of these things within you so they don't have to play themselves out in your life. Do you know what I mean? You can do some of this internally so that you don't have to deal with jealousy being evoked by some outer situation. You follow? If you do enough work within, then it doesn't. Then the outside doesn't help you. The outer situation isn't needed to call that up in you, because you can call it up on yourself. But like I say, that's my view. I kind of gathered that from the Mandali, but you know,
Beautiful.
will it be true for you? You know. So a lot of the things we can give to Baba, especially if they get touched off a little bit, but not so severely, but just enough so we can go in deeply enough to get in touch with that emotion at a deeper level, and then imagine that it's flowing to Baba. Those, you don't think you'd like to give Baba love, but that is love. Giving Baba your fear is love. I mean, that's a great gift. Baba would be thrilled to have any little bit of fear that you can give to him. And yeah, what do you think, Mayor Prasad? Is that a zany theory or what?
Lovely, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot we can do. Good question. Priya, you asked very good questions. And those are the very questions we asked in Mandalay Hall. The very kind of questions you're asking.
Alan has a question on the chat. Let me read it out.
Oh, okay.
How do you give your good, bad, and ugly to Baba?
Well, kind of what I said there. I mean, all the emotions you might say are, I mean, they register on the body. You know, so anger is, can be right in the middle of the heart, anger, before it goes up into the head. If you can catch it, if you can catch the anger at the heart level, and then I would get in touch with the anger. Suppose you're really feeling it, get at the heart level and imagine that anger that you've got in touch with is flowing out to Baba in front of you, because Baba is right in front of you. Or it doesn't matter, he knows when something's being given to him, But if you imagine that anger is going to him, a certain layer of that anger is dissolved and gone forever. But as I always say, there's a layer behind it that looks just like the anger you gave him. Keep pushing that. You won't be able to give all your anger in one sitting, but over time, layer by layer, eventually anger isn't so predominant in your life.
Yeah, you have
That's
to know the dish is dirty before you clean it.
yeah. Yeah. And like I say, you but Baba, I mean, this is amazing way of transforming yourself. This, by rather than just waiting around for Baba to uh, to remove this from you. And he does. Sometimes he removes things. Sometimes I've gone to India and I come back and something that was a problem that I had before I went is like not there anymore. Baba took it off while I was in India without my even knowing it because it wasn't getting activated over there. But he did remove it from my, you know, one of the problematic emotions, just just out of his sheer generosity.
I have a question, Jeff.
Yeah.
See, you mentioned that Darwin said that at some point you realize that life just unfolds and consciousness is freed from the day to day and
Yeah.
will to everyone and everything. What's your interpretation of that? And how do you um, how do you know that you don't have to do anything with respect to the day to day other than just waiting for it to just unfold? Meaning that, I mean, you can go on a limb and just leave everything and not be thinking about it, but sometimes you do have to spend some time for some of the day to day things to unfold. So I'm a little bit conflicted on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, just going back, I'll say how this came about, where I said to Darwin, "You have a lot of rare wine in your cellar, and if you die, it's just going to go to your relatives." He was about 95 or 4 at the time. If you die, it's just going to go to your relatives. I think we should bring it up now and enjoy it. I said, "You've been with Baba these last 70 years. Year in and year out, day by day, week by week, moment to moment. What is your experience now?" So he was very unassuming. I mean, I've been around him for years, and he didn't really divulge kind of his inner experience, but somehow that I tricked him into it. So he said, just as you breathe in and out all day, and you don't say, now it's time to inhale, now it's time to exhale, now it's time to inhale. He said, eventually life just unfolds. You're not trying to get things to go this way or that way. You've let go. Life will unfold. We don't need to be in there. Well, it's hard to say. We don't need to be in there and like, well, bring it this way, that way. It'll do fine on its own, but we're not convinced that that's true. But anyway, he discovered that you can let life unfold. So, and love will be the driving force in what you do. And then he said that life, therefore consciousness, is freed up at the level of the world, at the level of life. It goes up to the level of the spirit, out to the far corners of the universe, and you live in and through everyone. Now that's what I was shocked. I mean, he'd never said anything like that before. But so, how do you let go? How do you not have any agenda? Or if you have a loving agenda, life will just unfold. If you have any kind of personal thing, then you want things to go this way or that way. You want things to go this way and not that way. When you become convinced that love is that things are flowing from love, then you can let go because love knows what it's doing. You don't have to go and double check and make sure love is doing things. But that is possible. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, because I mean, I would kind of have that experience when I would go into the center, and this thing would lead to that thing, to that thing, to that thing, to that thing. Before you know it, it's 6 o'clock and I'm leaving. It all unfolded beautifully. I'm not saying that always happens, but it can. But if you're worried about your boss and what he's going to do, and all these calculations, it becomes it's hard to just let it flow. But oddly enough, you'll be just as have just as much expertise and know what to do if you let go of all the apparatus. But it's a leap of faith in a way too. It's a leap into a conviction that I'm really here. Love is really what's motivating me, or you might say Baba's really behind it, and you can kind of let go. But I don't know how I would do in like the job that Jasima has or Mayor Prasad has, to be able to just let go. I mean, I had a job that any moron could do. So it could unfold.
So Jeff,
Yeah.
does that mean when you go to center, you don't have a plan like what to do before? I mean,
No, I mean the plans are so simple. I mean, it doesn't take any great mental acuity to figure out what needs to be done. And I was amazed. See, now this is what Darwin did, though. You see, Darwin, and I was quite impressed. I've said this before. When I went up there and I was living near him and Jean, I was well educated. I felt kind of, just growing up in America, I need to use my potential, my creativity, my abilities. I should use these as fully as I can. And then I see Darwin. So living up there, and I see Darwin, someone who is so capable, so charismatic, so centered, so calm, so poised, and where he could have gone right up the ladder of the city of Schenectady. He could have been a state representative or whatever, and he just went up 2 rungs on this ladder of success where he could just earn his livelihood and remember Baba at the same time. He was not tempted to go higher and higher and get more and more responsibility and more money and more acknowledgement. He had the character to just stop on the second, I'm just saying, the second rung of a ladder and stop there, so that he's not in charge of serious things in the world. He was able to do it and without a whole lot of anxiety. So then he was able to just let go of life. You go into work and you do this and that and everything. He wasn't going in to highly complicated situations. A breakdown of your computer in your business or something like that. So it is possible, to find a way where there isn't so much serious involvement in a job situation, that it creates a lot of anxiety and, I got to go this, or if I don't do this, then that, all of that. He didn't go up to that level where that happened. I mean, I'm just describing what I kind of saw in him. And I don't know, like I say, with Jasima, what you have, and Mary Prasad, I don't know, or even Alan, how I would do if I had gotten myself in a situation like that. But it's a great challenge. If you can do it there, you're ready to be with Baba when he comes again. You know what I mean? if you can, if you can do that, but remain poised. Work hard. That doesn't mean you don't work hard, but remain poised. If you can do that, you're ready to be around Baba when he comes again.
I found two things. One is that you can give your 100%, but you will also be attached to the result. It's very hard to detach yourself from the result.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, you can be detached from the result, but you are also not giving your 100%. You're somewhat less than 100%. Doing both is so hard. I have not been able to do that. It's very, very hard. Either I work hard and give my 100%, but if things don't go the way I want, the result I'm expecting it to have,
yeah,
so hard to not feel bad about it.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, I think I've said this before. I asked Mariji, one of the Mandali, who was a businessman. I said, how did he get over worry, around, to overcome worry? And he said, overcome worry. He went like this. I mean, meaning I was around Baba. I mean, and living, I was like that all the time. But there's one thing about being agitated. I think the best way is to feel these things, but not react to your reactions. In other words, feel these things, but don't take them seriously. In other words, you're running into difficulties at work, and you can feel stirring up your emotions, but you don't have to become your emotions. You can witness them, but be poised behind it. That's to me, that's kind of the transitional step. If you can, or like Erich said to me, don't have a problem with problems. Have problems, but don't have a problem with problems. But you know what I mean, though, Mayor Prasad? I mean, you cannot react negatively to the difficulties that you're having. That's the first stage, I would say. And then see if you can get to that where you're not trying to get things to go this way or that.
Yeah.
It's not. These are great challenges.
Jeff,
yeah.
I just thought I'd mention. It looks like Mara's mom and dad might have logged on, and it's Iraj's birthday today.
Oh, okay, Pari.
Yeah.
Hey, Raj, come out from wherever you are. Oh, good. So it's Iraj's birthday. I just finished this book, Boys, which talks about his father and some of the Prem Ashram boys. Did you, Mayor Prasad, did you read that Boys yet?
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah. The beautiful thing that I always sensed about them, as I spent time with all of them, they kept alive a whole inner thing. They were very devoted to that inner, I don't know if you'd call it fire or light or presence. They were very absorbed in that. And the outer did not seem that important to them. They were very inwardly directed and just stoking the fire of that love with Baba. And the outer was was even less than secondary. Did I see? Did Dinku? Did I see a question or something? Let me see.
No, Jeff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No. Yeah, I keep losing the connection, so I don't know how long I'll be able to stay on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have something I want to read.
Yeah.
It's quite in line with what's being discussed here today.
Yeah.
It's a big thing. I won't read the whole thing, just an excerpt. This is February 14th, 1943.
Okay.
This was Baba's 49th birthday, and there were gatherings being held in India in 6 different cities: Pune, Bombay, Nagpur, Sholapur, Madras, and Lahore. And he had sent his rep to each place to deliver his message. And it's interesting, the message was called The Task for Spiritual Workers. And this was particularly aimed at 99 spiritual workers who had been invited to these gatherings, urging them to awaken people to the understanding that the divine truth is always within each one, but it is each person's duty to experience it consciously.
Yeah.
And I'll share the link here in case somebody wants to read it. But what I love about it is that, Baba offered hints of how to go about the work. And he says that descend to the lower level of understanding of those whom you're trying to help. Speak in terms they can understand. Do not divide life in departments and deal with each department separately and exclusively. Departmental thinking is an obstacle to integral vision. Spiritual progress is not a process of accumulating from outside. It is a process of unfoldment from within. The master is absolutely necessary for anyone to arrive at self-knowledge. But the true significance of the help given by the master consists in the fact that he enables others to come into the full possession of their latent possibilities. And then he concludes his statement by discussing the overcoming of obstacles and affirming the outcome of the work. And he says that it has been seen that spiritual workers must necessarily be confronted with many obstacles, but obstacles are meant to be overcome. Even if some of them appear to be insuperable, you have to do your best to help others, irrespective of results or consequences. Obstacles and their overcoming, success and failure, are all illusions within the infinite domain of unity. Your task is already done when it is performed wholeheartedly. You are steadfast and one-pointed in your desire to help my cause of awakening humanity to the sole reality and the ultimate worthwhileness of God and God alone. So you must do your work without worrying about consequences, irrespective of success or failure. But you must be sure that the result done in this spirit and with this understanding is certain.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a. I think Baba included that later on in his discourses. That,
Wow.
but yeah.
It
I know
reminded
it's.
me of all the challenges that I've been having, and you have been pointing me towards
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and coming down to the level of the people you're talking to in their language, which that takes a lot of translation, just like you talk with a little kid in his language. But people that have no spiritual background, there are ways of putting it. You know, it's amazing how powerful failure is. If we wouldn't get affected by failure, I mean the embarrassment or the shame of failure, if we got that out of our system, life would be so much easier. It really would. I mean, the fear of failure is so powerful. I mean, I've met people who just, there are some individuals here and there that actually aren't brought down by failure. But it's but that, again, that's an emotion down there. I mean, the embarrassment or the shame or that can be given to Baba. But there are certain people that who just don't have the same problem with failure and screwing up or getting fired, humiliating publicly. I once said to Erich, what is the origin of self-consciousness? I mean, this is somewhat related. And he said there was one quality that you had to have, and that we all had in the court of the Avatar. And that is, I'm trying to remember how he worded it. We didn't care if we were humiliated. They got over that. You know, and I mean, that's the whole origin of self-consciousness. I mean, like, hey, Elowen, nice to see you. Yeah, you get some sleep. You know, you got to get up and go to work tomorrow morning. You know, at the office. I mean, if we got that out of our system, boy, life would be a lot easier. And it can be given to Baba. That's the thing. It can be given, but we kind of stay away from it and wait until some event comes up, and then we got to deal with it. But that, whatever that feeling is, can be given to Baba all along, so that it doesn't have to. You don't have to have a shipwreck in your outer life to drive you into humiliation.
Jeff, when you talk about failure, it reminds me of this poem by Hafiz. He said, "When I became a lover, I thought I had gained the pearl of the goal. Foolish, I did not know that this pearl lies on the floor of an ocean which has innumerable waves to be encountered and great depths to be sounded."
Yeah.
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 And then he goes on. Yeah.
One thing that Erich said, and he would say this from time to time, he said, you Westerners, when you come up against an obstacle in your path, you make these incredible efforts to rise above those, obstacle and everything and get on the other side. In the East, when we find an obstacle in our path, we just fall at his feet. So
wow,
they're able to just, somehow we want to have succeeded in getting over this hurdle. And he said the fastest way is just to fall at his feet.
What did Darwin say about humiliation, especially when you have to face the situations where you had been identifying yourself with certain things, and they basically turn the opposite and turns into your humiliation.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember Darwin talking about that. I mean, I've seen Erich apologize, even for things that other people should have been apologizing to him about. but to to maintain a harmony and maintain the love, sometimes he would apologize for something that someone really should have apologized to him about. So he wasn't, and you can apologize. I'm sorry. I caused the company $100,000 of repair. No, no, but I mean, you can apologize, and that's one way of saving face. But yeah, it is just. But I'm trying to think if Darwin ever said anything about.
Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead.
In terms of that, I remember Eric saying something so good. He called it. He said, when that situation arises, he said they are not wrong. No, they are right, and we are not wrong. But he still had to apologize.
Yeah. That is a hard one. That goes against our whole emotional makeup. To apologize for something that that we quote shouldn't have to apologize for. But we used to find this. Bob Brown was one of the caretakers at the center, and one of the guests would be just like, rarely, but totally impossible, and we would be trying to help this person, but we couldn't really help them, and they were like angry at us because we couldn't quite satisfy what they wanted, and they would be offended. Well, they're giving us a hard time, but they're the ones that are offended. And later on in the day, Bob and I would be up, say, in the caretaker's cabin, and we see that person walking below. And we know that person is not happy with their stay at the center because we weren't able to help them. And so I'd say, Bob, one of us has got to go down and apologize. I don't think I can do it today. The one who is the least pissed off is the one that has to go down and apologize. We're sorry that you're upset and all. You have to go down. For the sake of love, you have to do that, even though that person really should be apologizing to us for treating us like a couple of lackeys or something. I don't know. That is very hard to do. Goes against the grain.
I may have missed this in what you said, Jeff, but the fear of humiliation. How did Irid said that he got over it? I didn't quite get that.
No, I was saying the fear of or the self-consciousness. You mean the Darbar or the court of the Avatar, or how he got over the fear of humiliation? Well, the one thing I said is he was willing to apologize rather than get defensive.
But that's after the fact. That's after you.
After the fact. Yeah.
But there is
when someone is holding you to account. Now your boss has said that you really messed up on this project that we had with this corporation.
Yeah.
You messed up. What do you do? I mean, that's humiliating, but one of the ways it can soften it a little bit for yourself is to apologize.
Yeah, no, but what I'm asking is, before it happens, you have that fear, right? You have the fear of being humiliated.
Yeah.
How do you get over that? I mean, one way is to give it to Baba, but is there anything else?
Well, I'll tell you something that Alaba told me. Yeah, I mean, if you can give as much of that as you can, it may not have as serious an outer consequence. and this is what Alaba. One time, Baba asked Alaba to do something, and he just didn't do it. I mean, he wasn't. He neglected to do it, and he knew that Baba was going to haul him into court the next day. So he spent the whole evening asking Baba for forgiveness. Well, you know, Baba, I'm sorry. I mean, he went to, just like we would do. He went to Baba, not inwardly, and asked Baba for forgiveness. He spent the whole evening, and he said the next day, when it was with the mandali and everything like that, Baba didn't even bring it up because, he acknowledged, inwardly what he had done. And so what's the point in Baba bringing up? He's already acknowledged it, and Baba knew that. So that's one way of getting around some of these things. But yeah, I mean, now this is one thing that Adi said on a couple of occasions when I heard him. We used to get together with him in the evenings after artis when we would be in Ahmednagar. And he said on a couple of occasions, he said if he hadn't gotten into Baba, he would have been a great saint with a large following. But he said instead, what I've had to deal with is exhaustion, humiliation, and frustration. Day after day after day, week in and week out. So he gave up that high state to serve Baba, but serving Baba meant humiliation, frustration, and exhaustion. And those are the words that a lot of the Mandali use to describe their experience with Baba. I once...
Humiliation is such a hard thing to read. I have a lot of fear of humiliation. I don't know how I'll handle it when I actually have to go through.
No. That's why I always try to do the right things. That's kind of a form of cowardice, I'll do the right thing so that I don't get hauled into court, so to speak. But, here's a... let's see, what was I going to say? It slipped my mind. And it was a kind of an example. Oh, yeah. I once said to... I don't know if this is helpful at all, but I said to Erich, we all know how Baba treated Bao, and he would ignore him for sometimes months, always finding fault. Bao couldn't do anything right. What was your relationship to Baba? How did Baba relate to you? This is in Mandalay Hall, and Erich was very serious. He wasn't just joking. He said, Baba was always very good to me. I had self-knowledge. And inside I thought, Erich, what are you saying? But immediately he said, I knew that I was a scoundrel. And whenever I did anything wrong, I knew. And I would look over at those all-knowing eyes of Baba's, and I knew that he knew. So what was there to say? Did that make sense? He knew, he felt it, so... And Baba knew that he knew, so Baba didn't have to say anything. He saw his selfishness and acknowledged it and to himself, and that was sufficient. Baba didn't have to go on and correct him because he had already seen where he had fallen short. I don't know if these things help.
Well, I feel like that requires a deep level of experiential faith in knowing that he is really in and part of everything. And what I experienced when you're talking is like the thing that came up when you were talking as well, Meher Prasad, which was broken promises. How you make a promise or you make a resolution to not do something or to slow down at least a little bit, but you keep the traction. It just seems like it keeps happening, and you keep breaking the promise. And then I found that when you're talking, like, oh, sometimes I make promises and I break them to Baba or to myself, and then in order to not feel the humiliation, but then I kind of humiliate myself again and again with Baba when I fail at keeping the promise. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like you kind of don't want to make promises because you're going to feel bad about breaking them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Or
know
you just
what?
take a
You know,
stand,
I happen to think today, but this is only semi-related to what we're saying. Erich once said to Dan Ladinsky that he always kept his word in every situation in this lifetime. He never made a promise he couldn't keep. I mean, amazing.
Wow.
If he said he's going to meet you at such and such a time, he will be there. If you need something written, a letter and everything, he will get it to you. He backed up everything. Amazing. But I mean, that's Erich.
Yeah.
But he made a point to be as good as his word.
Who is this?
Everything. Erich.
Oh, Erich never Erich always kept his promise, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, my whole life, he said, toward the end of his life, he said, the whole life, I've kept every promise that I made.
Wow.
I mean, that's extraordinary. Hey, while some of you weren't here before, but I was thinking maybe next Sunday on the chat to get, I might be able to get Tom Riley to share his experience.
Yeah.
It won't be, it's kind of late in the evening for him, even if he does 45 minutes. But if we can get him to say, even if we get him to describe his meeting with Baba in the lagoon cabin,
Yeah, that's the only part I didn't hear when I came to visit. I missed that part for some reason, and then I heard. I went to his house and heard another part of it, but it was.
Yeah.
I've been waiting to hear that specific one.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get him to. There, like I say, there are only about 30 or plus people who, in this country, who met Baba and who actually will talk about their times of meeting Baba.
Yeah. There's something really beautiful about his sharing. I mean, you all will see it, but hey guys.
Hey. We've been
Haven't seen
talking
you in a
about
while.
humiliation. We've been talking about humiliation and the fear of humiliation.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. That was our cue.
Uh-huh. What do you do about what is your experience with the fear of humiliation? How does that sit in you?
Well, are you asking me personally?
Yeah.
So when I was a young woman, up until maybe last week, there was a little need to be perfection, and I didn't know Bubba yet, so I didn't know that he was it and I wasn't, or maybe I was, but in a different sense.
Yeah.
So shame was really, it was a horrible feeling, but I must admit, now that I'm older, I don't feel a lot of shame. I just say, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it came to me when I was 65.
Yeah. Well, the thing too is that when you have a boss, you probably don't have I mean, it depends on what your boss is like. That's one way you can.
Well, let's put it this way. When I first learned how to use the computer, and in my office we went paperless, he was always kind of looking over my shoulder, and I told him he needed to get away. He made me nervous.
Yeah, well, good. You saved it. You got the source of humiliation out of the picture.
Just go away.
What about you, Diane? What about? I mean, it's one of the major fears that the number one fear in America. They've come up 90% of something like 90% is stage fright. And what is stage fright is making a fool of yourself in front of others. That's. But Diane, how do you come down on?
To be totally authentic.
Yeah.
And not bullshit at all.
Yeah.
I think that being clever is how I avoid it. By using my wit, can do all sorts of arm's distance from keeping me safe. But probably putting my neck out and risking not knowing something or not getting something can prove to be a bit humiliating. I was a improv actress for a long time, so I'm used to thinking quickly on my feet and fluid. But so I don't have stage fright, but I do ask every time I have to speak, I do ask Baba to come with me.
Yeah, beautiful.
I have a big meeting tomorrow. He is so booked with me for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so you've worked out a lot of that. And I would say I do the same thing, is that there are ways of avoiding, ingenious ways of avoiding humiliation by deflection, by distraction, by framing something differently from the way someone else has framed it, so that you can, yeah.
You know what, you just reminded me, Diane, that I, for many years, was part of an improv troupe where our whole goal was to completely see how far we could take, just humiliate ourselves on stage, but not in a weird, creepy way, but literally just to drop into a character so deeply and drop into kind of the unconscious collective and tap into a story line that, and it'd be amazing because we drop into pretty much into the intuitive, river, and all of a sudden the players would be telling stories, but you really had to kind of like, I would look like completely insane sometimes. That if I was taken out on and put on the street, you would think this guy is completely gone or he's high or something. But I think that was my way of dealing with humiliation, was to humiliate myself. But it was kind of a mask. It was a mask I put on, like. But to be vulnerable, like to sing, that terrifies me because it's authentic.
Yeah.
In a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah.
What Adrian does. Yeah.
To do it more often. We'll be your best fans.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and your singing is very good. You shouldn't, because it's heartfelt and everything. Yeah. No, it's, yeah. Humiliation. We've been talking before you folks came on. We've been into humiliation for a while.
And how come?
It came up dealing with fear, the different types of fear, and how to give those to Baba. Meaning, if you can give them deeply enough to Baba, sometimes they don't have to play themselves out in your life. They play themselves out in your life if you haven't done your homework on the inside. So it's one way of avoiding certain things, but how to get in touch with the feeling of humiliation within, without requiring some outer situation to make you really work on it. That's, yeah.
I remember one time I was on a trolley car in Massachusetts going to a stop that was kind of in my future, so I kind of like leaned my head, and I fell asleep and I woke up and I was a stop further than I was supposed to be. And I was so embarrassed and no one knew.
Yeah.
I was so embarrassed that I missed my spot. I remember that. I was like 19 years old.
Yeah.
My face got all red and I was like, and I kept saying to myself, you don't have to tell anybody. You can keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
45 years later, she's still carrying it.
Yeah, you should be. Well, you better repent for that. Baba's waiting.
Jeff.
Yeah.
So what Baba says about humiliation, what's the purpose of humiliation? Not the humiliation that we have, of course, the humiliation is inside, but the humiliation that is caused by outside situations, by people around us, you know, and if you feel humiliated by a person or by a situation. So Baba, of course, I don't know, I think there is a spiritual purpose, you know, in there. Somehow, you know, is to defeat your ego or what?
Yeah, I mean, just what you say there, I would say that you want to be have a certain image, and now you've fallen below that image. You know, and but the image has got to go. Oh, well, I mean, giving importance to ourself instead of Baba. That whole mentality has got to go, and you know, sometimes the way Baba drives you out is that it becomes too painful to live in yourself. And so how is he going to drive you out of your house? It's just going to be into him when it becomes too painful to live in yourself. And I mean, Hafiz talks about that. I mean, the pain and suffering. Baba, the last stage is Baba has to move your consciousness out of the heart and into the soul. And we have been in our heart for ages. That's our home. And how is it going to get us from the home in the heart to the home in our soul? That, you know, we do not want to give up the home that we have been living in for some unknown place. And so he's got to, in many cases, drive us out. It becomes too painful to live in the heart, and we are pushed into the soul, kicking and screaming sometimes.
Because humiliation is one of the most fear that I have, you know.
Yeah.
I'm so afraid of being humiliated or feel humiliated when any situation for people or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
It just, you know, destroys me. You know, it's just destroying me, you know, if I had to go through. And I've been this last 2 years and a half, or maybe I was a little bit, but now at the last 3 months, these past 3 months, I've been going through a lot of humiliation, you know, and it's so painful that I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know if I kill myself, or I don't know if I give myself to Baba for good. I'm laughing now.
Yeah.
It's not fun at all. It's like horrible.
Yeah.
And I hate it. And I know I talk to Baba, I say, Baba, that's what you want from me to go through. I'm going, I'm kicking and screaming, you know, you take me, but I'm gonna be kicking and screaming because it's the worst thing for me.
Can you tell a little bit of what it's about, or do you want to keep that private?
No, I don't want to talk about right.
Oh, okay. No, you
No,
don't want to
there is-
humiliate yourself even more by telling
No,
us.
are saying from you guys. Not at all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, when I think of my college days, oh, it's humiliating. I have to, but here's one thing that that helped me, Baba showed me, is all of the humiliating things that you've done in your life. Send his name and love to those places. Because otherwise, if you don't, then they're stamped on your consciousness and they just continue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never get rid of them. They're like stains. But Baba can remove those stains and so that you're not dragging around the horrible regrets of some of the things that you've done. I mean, I'm talking about past humiliations.
Yeah.
And that may help actually sending love to the parts of you that you are ashamed of, sending Baba's name and love, I think will help clear up some of the fear of humiliation in the present.
I think the going through a humiliation is actually, once you have gone through the humiliation,
Yeah.
it's much easier to handle that than to handle the fear of
Yeah.
going through that, because you have experienced how that feels, and
Yeah.
I think that experience really is so ingrained in you that you fear going through that experience again. Especially things like, I mean, this is my experience, things like that I have identified myself so strongly with, I'm important, or especially self-worth, I'm important, or I'm smart, my position is important in the company, or things like that. When they
Yeah.
get shaken up through some situations that happen at work, when you actually go through those, I felt that it was much easier to handle that, because you can feel Baba's support through that phase.
Yeah.
But before that happens, when you have to make sure that those things don't happen again, that fear is very hard.
Yeah. And the thing too is, if our tentacles of our identity, our consciousness gets into important, or I have this position, and I'm indispensable, whatever, and then we screw that up, then that tentacle is creates a real problem. If we don't put that tentacle of importance there, of self-importance, it's a lot easier. But all these things are all so subtle and everything. But Baba has us, I mean, everybody's working on these things, and he has us working on these things. And we know the Mandali being humiliated was one of the major ways. Once you kind of thought you were important and everything, and then you get knocked down, and it'd be just.
Can I show a clip of that?
Yeah.
Jeff? It's like 30 seconds, but
Yeah.
it's part of a video called Unbounded Love. I'm sure many people have seen it, but let's see. Right. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Can you hear this?
Uh-oh, humiliation. Oh my God. Here we are. Here we are, Mayor Prasad. A little louder.
You can't hear the sound, Alan.
Is it totally silent?
You have to,
Yeah, more or less.
A little too low.
Can you share audio?
Yeah.
we just learned this in our last.
Share audio. Let me take my headset out. That might be affecting it. Share.
God, look at, he just runs us right back in our face.
All right, let's see if this.
Even the word is scary.
Meher Baba has talked about a humiliation that must occur to him before a manifestation. And there's been some feeling that maybe the dropping of his body would usher in the period of humiliation. How does this sound?
Dropping in a body couldn't usher in a period of humiliation, because how can you have a humiliation with a dropped body? His whole life has been a humiliation. We were a humiliation. Everything was a humiliation to him.
He's very, when you
His
say...
very act of being God-man is a humiliation.
The
a man come down from the highest glory to an ordinary material, physical man, that in itself is a humiliation.
The very thought that he has not broken the silence, you see, if the world were to say that he has not broken the silence and has dropped his body, is in itself is the humiliation.
So this was 2 days after they buried his body. Pretty amazing that they were.
Yeah. Yeah, just even to think that he didn't.
I kind of felt that the definition of humiliation that they were talking about, it didn't resonate with me in the way we're talking about humiliation.
Yeah, they're thinking that Baba, it's humiliation for God to come down here, and so few people are really interested in him in his lifetime. You know what I mean? I mean, God, comes all the way down, and he goes to Australia, and they're really only about, at the time, only about 43 people in a whole country that were devoted to him. I mean, wow, that's incredible. You know, considering all the suffering he has to do just to be here with us. And yeah, it is amazing. And Alan, I think last time or the time before said, I mean, Baba was really only the avatar for about 50 years. From almost 1,300 years, and we only have a little window of 50 years. Incredible that he is only here amongst us for such a short time. And although Baba did say that it would be like he's still with us for 100 years from 1969, so it's like he's still physically with us, they said. So this is invaluable time to surrender all that you can. More than after 100 years, Baba even said that it'll be quite different. You'll have to find him within rather than there beside you. There's a Christian saying, the saints found Jesus within them, the early Christians found him beside them. So this is that period where you kind of got Baba in the room with you. He really is in the room with you, and he could be sitting over in the chair there. If we could loosen up our imagination and our sense of truth, loosen it up enough that and make it creative, he can be sitting there, right there with us, because he really is.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking through the window and checking on seeing how Jay is doing, how he's taking care of his kids, and he's just, and Lanita has to watch her being humiliated, and yeah. Even makes it over to Goa. I mean, some people think that Baba just checks on them now and then. He kind of spot checks. I wonder how Jasima's doing. I'll check in maybe next weekend I'll check in and see how he and his family are doing. I mean, because that's the way we experience things.
Yeah, there was a big shift for when I was younger. I had one of my very, very powerful experience of my heart breaking open and experiencing just love for humanity, for just I don't know, it was just a touch of the divine. And I ran downstairs and I was hugging my mom and my stepdad, and I just felt so much love for about 6 months. I was just on this elevated place, but very ungrounded. And at the time I was focusing, it was my teacher, I would say my master at the time, was somebody named Neem Karoli Baba. And through Ram Dass, and I had met him, and so therefore when I met Adrian, and she had all these pictures of Baba, and I looked into his eyes, Baba's eyes, and I was like, oh, you have that same type of thing where you're here, but you're not my master, and I have nothing to do with you. You know, and I would look at his pictures and be like, there's nothing here, and I don't need to look at this. But then that's when I started, you know, I was like, who is this guy? You know, why is he writing discourses, and what does he have to say about this and that? And let me find something that I disagree with. And that's how I slowly got, you know, very, very slowly. But sorry, what was I bringing that up for?
Well, that he's there. he's right
yes.
there in the same way.
Yes. So the difference was that with Neem Karoli Baba, he would say things like, just keep saying God's name, just keep saying God's name. And so I would do that, and I was like, yeah, it's not really personal. And then I would try to connect with him, and it would be like, it was definitely a feeling of, you know, me in my life. And then sometimes I would remember him and it'd be like, please help me, you know. And then when all of a sudden my life, you know, and I had that amazing, I had that dream that destroyed my life, you know, it was the beginning of the end with Baba, where I met him I met him, and he was there, and I was looking at him into his eyes. And what I realized was that he was, the transition was that in that moment, the very moment, it was Neem Karoli Baba was telling me, I have brought you to the ocean of love. And in that moment, I knew that Meher Baba wasn't just like, you know, somebody out there that I could tune in with sometimes, or like, you know, I'm having a hard time, so let me meditate. And because there's a plethora of cosmologies and all kinds of things and beings that you can connect with. But what I had really realized and felt, experienced, looking into those eyes, was infinite pools that completely suspended me, and it just expanded. And I knew that he was, like you said the other night, like my very breath. Like he was in and part of everything that I do, and there was no way to escape. It was like there's nothing that was not him, and that was a major. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a difference between the, you know, somebody you can talk to or pray to sometimes, or but this was like, oh, all my life, everything I've been doing, everything that I experienced, all the hatred and shame and rage and disgust and beauty, and all of this was because of you, you know, and all of that. And that was a major changed the course of, you know, where my soul was heading. I don't know, it was just, that's the part that for me, no matter what happens, there's some, I think that's Baba's gift for me and for all of us who are, you know, here with him. It's that everything and anything that's happening is, you know, he really is there, you know, he really is. It's but it's easy to really get pulled into the muck and grime and feel it very deeply until he's like, it's almost like he's, like he said in discourses, like sometimes the surgeon needs to use the scalpel to cut open the wound to release the pus. It's like sometimes he has to do that, and I feel that, and that's the times when I don't feel him, and I feel very alone, and I feel like I'm losing my mind, and then there's of course always him, but it takes a little bit of time for me, a lot of time.
Yeah, no, it's that there's I'll mention something about Neem Karoli, but Baba, but Muncie had something to say there.
Yes, hello everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have my video on. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask you, Jeff, that isn't humiliation a very big part of ego? I feel like because we can't live up to our own standards, that's where the humiliation comes in, because it's a very personal feeling. Humiliation is what only you go through. And I feel it's a very big part of ego. And I'm like, it happens only when we are like, oh my God, how could I not satisfy my own whatever standards? I mean, live up to myself. I feel like that. Is it true?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's one of the major sources of humiliation.
So
I've had to lower my standards because they were impossible. Otherwise, I would humiliate myself. I had to lower my standards to what was actually doable, rather than to be absolutely fearless. I had to lower what is the level of fearlessness that I can strive for in this moment, that I won't just fall so short and humiliate myself. You know
also
what I mean?
to think that it's okay not to know that much. I mean, I could learn.
Yeah.
So why get humiliated? You can just take it as a space where you just don't know that. That's not a big deal. It's okay. I can get it. This is my chance to learn. I think it's about ego, where it just hurts that a particular person knows more than us.
Yeah.
And so is rebuking me, and I'm humiliated.
Yeah. No, it's our ego that gets, that gets crushed, and we don't like that. I mean, because we want to stay intact, and humiliation can just fracture everything for a time being,
Right.
Yeah. Alan slipped out, but Marcia.
I just kind of came in late, but I've been reading for the last couple of days, and I read 2 Rumi poems last night, and I've marked them to read. It doesn't exactly reflect, but it's in the We Are 3 Rumi book.
Yeah.
And it says, if your name is Omar, nobody in the town of Kash will sell you a loaf of bread at any price. You go to a bakery shop and say, hello, my name is Omar, I'd like some bread. The baker will reply, try to shop down the street. 1 loaf of his is better than 50 of mine. But if you have headed the eyesight of all duality, you can answer, there is no other bakery. The illumination of that would blind the baker and change your name. As it is, the bakers of Kash nod, and with tones of voice they know, send you on a wild goose chase around town. Once you have said your name is Omar in one shop, you may as well quit trying to buy bread in Kash. You're not only seeing double, you're seeing tenfold, and you'll never get fed. You move from nook to nook in the ruins of a monastery thinking, the next prayer place is the place I'm looking for. Let your eyes see God everywhere. Give up fears and expectations. The friend, the beloved, your soul, is a river with the trees and buds of the world reflected in it, and it's no illusion. Reflections are real images through which God is made real to you. This river water is an orchard that fills your basket. Be splashed. But not all flowings are the same. Different donkeys take different loads and different persuasive sticks. Our principle does not apply to all rivers. For example, inside this river there is a moon, which is not a reflection. From the river bottom, the moon speaks. I travel in continuous conversation with the river as it goes. Whatever is above and seemingly outside this river is actually in it. It all belongs to the friend. Merge with it in here and out there as you please, because this is the river of rivers and the beautiful silence of endless talking.
Yeah. I mean, that's
anyway,
a little bit that's a little bit complex.
Yeah, I had to read it 3-4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But after I read it, I wrote something, and it was one more poem. I don't know if you want me to read it, but I'm kind of like sticking myself out there. February 16th, 2021. Why am I up in the middle of the night? Just read a Rumi poem, and the message was, be up at night when the magic happens. That's the next poem that I didn't read. While you're on this earth, be awake, and you can sleep when you die. Be awake now when the truth unfolds, and you are in touch with the real self, which is your soul. We have been given the gift of God, given the gift of love from God in this time when everyone and everything is so troubled. But listen, my dear, I think I was thinking of Padre when I said that, like how he speaks. Listen, my dear, that is why we are here. We haven't chosen God, He has chosen us. Those who are listening and surrendering ourselves to the obedience to the Master, the avatar of the age, Mayor Baba, the path is steep, but the reward is beyond imagination and conception, the joy of being free.
Beautiful. Marcia, that
hear
was
the
lovely.
Do you want to hear the next poem?
Let's wait and
okay.
save that.
Okay.
But that was beautiful. Your poem there,
Oh,
lovely.
thank you. Oh.
Yeah, that almost merged with Rumi.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to mention to Alan that a buddy of mine, a guy named Daniel Stone, before he was a really full-fledged Baba person, he he was kind of drawn to Neem Karoli Baba, and he he hadn't really mentioned much of that to Kitty in his first interview, but Kitty said he should go see him, Kitty Davy. So he went up to northern India and stayed there for 3 months with Neem Karoli Baba. Some of us have thought that he might have been a perfect master, But anyway, don't quote me on that. But at one point, Baba Ram Das said that he was drawn to Meher Baba, to Neem Karoli Baba. And Neem Karoli Baba, I said, I have another master, Meher Baba. And Neem Karoli Baba said, he's my master too. So that's very interesting. Wow. They say about the perfect masters, they are the executors of the avatar's will. The avatar comes here and lives his life and arranges everything, and the perfect masters are the executors of his will. They carry out what he kind of set in motion. That's what Balkachuri used to say.
You're saying that Ram Das said that Meher Baba was his master?
Yeah. One of my masters, I have another master, Meher Baba. He said, this is early on. And he said, he's my master too.
Was Ram Das in communication with Meher Baba?
Yeah. Yeah, he wanted to come and see Baba. And but he was still using drugs, and Baba said he'd have to give up drugs. And he said to Baba that he didn't think he could give up drugs. And Baba said he would give him just 2 more trips, and he could come and see Baba, but he wasn't able to stop after 2 trips, But he acknowledged Baba. You could see toward the latter part of his life, he would have Baba movies on his website.
Oh, wow.
And Baba sayings, yeah. Hey, well, we're getting there, getting up there, and Diane is kind of sinking back in that sofa a little.
Yeah.
Nasreen?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sleepy.
Yeah, well, we're getting here. We're kind of sleepy at this part of the world. Let me just see. Pari, is Araj there? We're missing her. Marion, you there? She might. What about Janet Jacobs?
Jai Baba, Jeff.
Uh-huh.
Ready.
Hey, well, we want to say happy birthday to Araj.
Yeah, he's kind of sleeping.
Oh, don't
and-
wake him up. Don't wake him up.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry that he
Yeah.
doesn't. A little bit feel little bit kind of headache, and that's
Yeah.
what he went to bed early.
Well, tell him that we wished him a happy birthday from outer space.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you. I will pass
good.
the message. Sure, I
Yeah.
do that. It was good to see you, Jeff. Always.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
always.
good to see you, Party. Yeah.
Thank you.
What about Janet? Are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I have
Well,
some different
I'm thinking of we're coming down to the end here.
Yeah.
This,
well, I'm gonna say goodbye too. So, but I just
Appreciate everybody's wonderful contributions, and
Yeah.
I've been contemplating humiliation.
I know. we,
So
we,
I haven't wanted to say anything because too much humiliation possibility.
too close to home.
Too close to home.
Hey, so hey, I'll end with this. This is a Westerner said to Erich in Mandalay Hall, "There are some people I just don't like." Others in the hall kind of heartily agreed with him. Erich, pausing thoughtfully, replied, "You may dislike someone, but never assert that you have the right to dislike anyone." I'll read that again. You may dislike someone, but never assert that you have the right to dislike anyone. Yeah.
This is Marion. That means to me, don't act it out. Don't act on that.
Yeah. And don't justify it. Just it means that you're falling short, but with work you'll be able to eventually be able to like them. But rather than kind of get a stance, I don't like this person, because we really do love each other. You know, there's the one quote from Baba, and then that one of my favorite quotes, where Baba says, "All differences between one another are merely superficial and cannot affect the love we feel for each other deep down." So to assert that we dislike somebody is really false, because we really do love them. If the clouds would clear away, we would see that we have loved them all along. That's what Baba conveyed there. So Sham, you're still with us there. And hey, good. Hey, well, anyway, nice seeing you. And here's what just to let you know, I'm thinking of, as I said, to get Tom Riley to share his meeting with Baba, maybe next Sunday, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So, you know, that'll be, I mean, there are very few people who in this country who have met Baba, and this will be someone who had quite a powerful experience
Yes.
of meeting Baba. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all, and I hope none of you is humiliated over the next 5
Next-
days.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
And if we do, may it humble us.
Yeah, may it diminish your ego by that much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is embarrassing yourself as bad as humiliation?
Yeah. Okay, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba, everyone.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai
Jai
Jai Baba.